What's up, traders? Today we're going to talk about a stock that is $20 that could, if you play it right, double or even triple your money. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Rashad. I am a full-time options trader, and I've been blessed to build an abundant life all from trading options within the stock market. Now, before we begin, if you could do me so much of a favor as to go ahead and smash that like button. I want to see if we can get this video to over 1,000 likes, and you can help me get there. So that would be extremely appreciated. And do remember that this is not financial advice, or is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any equities or options contracts. Now, as always, we want to start off with the word of the day that has to deal with business, money, and wealth building. And today's scripture comes from Ecclesiastes 11:6, and it says, "Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well." And there's a couple investing and trading aspects I get from this scripture. So when it says, "For you do not know which will succeed," that kind of touches on diversifying. You do not want to put all your eggs in one basket because you simply do not know which one will work out. But two, it also talks about being prepared. The very first line is sow your seed in the morning. And anybody who is in the Trader Freedom community, they will tell you that I always refer to our trades as planted seeds. We don't know when a stock will do exactly what we want it to do, but what we can do is look at the data that is currently available and make the best decision based on that. And from there, a harvest should grow from one of our planted seeds. But you always want to have your seed planted. And an example of this is one of our members came to me asking me back in August on whether they should sit on the sidelines for the month of September, because historically September is the worst month in the market. And I quickly told them, no, we always want to have our seed planted, and we will plant that seed based on the data that we currently have available. And now we are over halfway done with the month of September, and that specific member is doing quite amazing. So if you don't get anything else from this verse, just remember to always have your seed planted, because you do not know when your harvest will come. Now, speaking of harvest, I have to shout out two specific members of the Trader Freedom community who are printing extreme amounts of money with the seeds that they have already planted. Now, one thing that I have realized for sure is that the more and more money that our community members make, they stop posting in our share wins area, and they just start sending me private messages telling me how they're doing, because they know that I absolutely love to see everybody win. So this individual specifically shared this with me and asked me not to mention their name. And so you can see that they are up $111,000 year to date. So they are printing extreme amounts of money with their planted seeds. Now, I know somebody's going to say, they're going to go, well, he has a very large account, so that's the only reason he can make $111,000. Nope, don't do that. I want you to come over here and I want you to look at the rate of return. And this person has made a 46% rate of return year to date, while the stock market has done 12%. And on top of that, this specific person did not actually join the community until about, I want to say it was late spring. And ever since then, they've obviously been printing crazy amounts of money. And so I told this guy that he will be printing at minimum $200,000 next year. And he was like, oh, that'll be an amazing goal to reach. And I told him, no, that's not my goal for you. That's the minimum that you'll do next year. And I was just letting you know. All right, I speak that over his life right now. And so that was this person, but let me show you another message that I received while I was on vacation in Ghana just last week. So on September 10th at 10:43 a.m., I received this message. It says, "Hey brother, just saw your YouTube video, awesome, and wanted to say thanks for sharing the 9 principles of wisdom. You are blessing so many people. God is certainly using your life to help others and bring people to his kingdom. I also have some great news. Glory be to God, I am over $1 million in my investment accounts, and you played a big part of this success. Thank you. You have been a blessing to me, brother. God bless you guys and have a great vacation." And he didn't just tell me that, he went ahead and showed me the receipts. And this is crazy. A million hits different. And let me tell you why it hits different. The reason it hits different is because the week before I went on vacation, I had a one-on-one coaching session with this individual. And at that time, he was around 900K. And during that session, we went over some strategies that I wanted him to implement so that he could print even more money than before. And when I say he took those strategies and went to town, because he literally printed nearly $100,000 in the span of a week. And again, do not come in the comment section talking about, well, he had a very large account. No. Look at the rate of return. He did over 10% on his account in the span of a week. And that is extreme, especially for an account this size, right? Because with smaller accounts, you could take on a lot more risk because you're risking a much smaller amount of money. You know, Warren Buffett says it all the time. He says if he had a smaller account, he would be putting up astronomical rates of return because you just simply have to move a little different when you have a larger account. But this man did nearly 10% in the span of a week. And so you know exactly who you are, man. I'm so proud of you. Keep going. $1 million is just the beginning. But hey, if you guys know anybody who want to join a cool community and hang out with a bunch of people who are steadily building wealth, then come and join the Trader Freedom community. The link is below in the description. You'll get to see my exact trades as soon as I enter them. You'll get access to my entire options framework via the Trader Freedom course. You'll get access to ask me questions at any given time. And lastly, you'll be within a community of other traders who all have the exact same goal as you. So if that sounds good to you, then come on and join us. Link below in the description. But with that said, let's get down to business. And the stock we will be talking about today is Lyft, ticker symbol LYFT. Now, I'm sure Lyft does not need any type of introduction. It is a ride-hailing service and one of Uber's biggest competitors, but there were some recent changes to this company that now make it a very interesting trade. However, you need to make sure that you have the right setup. And so let's go ahead and take a look at those recent changes, and then we will look at some potential trades. And this was just announced today that Waymo to offer autonomous rides in Nashville on Lyft ride-hailing network. Now, if you're not familiar with Waymo, it is the self-driving car company that is owned by Google. And as of right now, they are pretty much the leaders when it comes to self-driving cars. All right, Tesla always gets all the shout outs. However, Waymo is currently in the lead. And now that Lyft is partnering with Waymo, that changes a lot of things because the biggest expense for Lyft is obviously having to pay their drivers. And so if they are able to take advantage of all the new technology and partner with companies like Waymo, they could possibly be able to drastically reduce their expenses, which will increase their net income and their free cash flow, and in return, boosting the stock's price. Now, looking at their actual financials, here's something else that I like. If we go back all the way to 2020, we can see that they have boosted their revenue every single year. So in 2020, they did 2.3 billion, 2021, 3 billion, 2022, 4 billion, 2023, nearly 4.5 billion, and then 2024, 5.8 billion. So they have been growing drastically over the last 5 years. However, something more important that I want to point out is if we go down and we look at their net income, well, we can see here going back to 2020 again, they lost money. 2021, they lost money. 2022, they lost money. 2023, they lost money. But what happened in 2024? They became a profitable company. And so this company is already showing that they are at quite the turning point when it comes to adding money to the bottom line. But what if they're able to reduce even more expenses by using the self-driving car technology? That could absolutely change the game for Lyft. And so now that we know that there are some good things happening in the background for Lyft, let's go ahead and take a look at the technicals. All right, so here we are looking at the weekly chart, and I have the last 5 years pulled up. Now, if you notice over here, obviously today it had an amazing day. It went up 13% once that news was announced. And so you're probably smiling from ear to ear if you were already in trades of Lyft. And we in the Trader Freedom community actually entered into trades on Lyft just last week. And so this was a very, very good day for us. However, what I want to point out is the stock price that it ended at today is right at what used to be a level of support. So if we look back all the way to 5 years ago, we can see it came down to this support line right at $22.84. And from there, it shot back up and stayed up and went all the way up to $68 in 2021. All right, and so that's where it peaked before eventually dropping all the way down. And once it came below that level, then it would start to recover and it would hit that level and bounce back down. And we can see here it went upwards and it bounced back down. We see over here it went upwards near that level again and then it bounced back down. Went up, down, and now it's gone back up. And ironically, that level, which is now currently resistance, was right at $22.84. And where did we end today? Right at $22.84. And so what I want to see next is, can it break that level of resistance? Because if it can, then we could certainly possibly see that $30 level and maybe even more. And if that does occur, then I may consider some more leaps and poor man covered calls on this stock. And so over the next few days, we should be able to see where it goes from here. However, my current plan is, while it is still under this, I'll probably go ahead and sell some more puts. But when it goes ahead and breaks that level, and then that level then becomes support, then I'll go ahead and enter into some calls and possibly poor man cover calls. So let's go ahead and take a look at the options chain. All right, so here we are at the options chain. And so assuming that it stays under the line, I'm gonna go ahead and sell puts. So what I'll do is I'll come out to a date that is anywhere within 45 days out. And so let's go ahead to this date that's 44 days out from now, and I'll go ahead and select that. And I'll likely come over here to around this 20 delta, which is at the strike of 20, and go ahead and sell those puts, and I'll go ahead and collect anywhere between $51 to $55 per contract for doing that. And for doing that, I'll just be agreeing to buy the shares shares if the stock price were to drop below 20 by this expiration date. And if that happens, that's great. I get to purchase shares of a stock that I would really like to own at the price that I would really like to own it at while getting paid to do so. And if that doesn't happen and the stock price stays above 20, then I just get to keep the premium that I received and I go about my day and place more trades. And so that is the game plan if it stays under. However, if it does happen to break through and then that line now becomes a support level, well, now I want to look at leaps. And so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and look at any date that is further out than 365 days till expiration. And I typically like to go to the furthest out expiration. And the reason I do that is because it gives me the highest probability of profit. All right, but I know a lot of people do not want to go to the furthest date out because it costs more money. And so let's say we're going to come to the date that's about 485 days out from now. January 15th of 2027. So I'll go ahead and select that. And I'll just come here and flip to the call side. And from here, I usually go somewhere between a 0.70 to a 0.80 delta. All right, so you want to do an in the money strike because that gives you also the highest probability of profit. Don't come down here and do one of these far out of the money strikes because by doing so, you are just generally lessening your probability of profit. All right, we want the highest probability of profit, but this will allow us to enjoy the ride up in Lyft stock's price as it continues to do better and better things. But let me know in the comments below if you plan on trading Lyft anytime soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're looking for a cool community to join, we would love to have you in the Trade to Freedom community. But until the next time, peace.